My reflection. You look at me intently, I smile back at you. My mask is in place firmly, I hope you don't see through. Like a game of poker, you see only what I show. I hide the emotion and pain, and hope that you won't know. But when I look in the mirror, I can't hide what I see. I can't help but see past the mask, down deep into the real me. The ugliness within bounces back from my reflection. I am lost and wandering, hoping desperately to find direction. I can't cover my sins, no matter how many masks I wear. Sometimes they overwhelm me, beyond what I am able to bear. Then the streaming of tears, like a dam that has burst, I recollect a powerful story about how Jesus loved me first. He loved me, and yet I am sick and depraved. I sought all that was sinful, but forgiveness I always craved. I remember the picture I saw of him with his arms wide open. I fall to my knees before him, broken but desperately hoping. Oh Jesus, are your arms still open to me? If I lay my life down before you, will you still set me free? Will you forgive this life of sin? Will you show me your grace? I feel your arms stretch wide, and I know I can show you my true face. On my knees I was broken, now back on my feet I am whole. My cup was empty and dry, but now it is exceedingly full. I feel your love. It courses through my veins. How could I not share your forgiveness? And now I will never be the same. I recently read a powerful story of transformation. The truth is, every story of transformation is powerful, but this one really touched me. We are in a world filled with lost and broken people desperately trying to find their way. We are slaves to our sin and pain. We wear the shackles of our suffering, forever dragging us down. I was there. I know this place all too well. I am here to boldly tell you, you don't have to stay there. If your heart cries out, begging for something more, what will you seek? If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Think about it. There is more out there. There is true freedom. The prison gates have flung wide open. I ran out of my cell. Nothing but freedom lies before me. Are there any other prisoners who want to join me in this jailbreak? One of the greatest gifts that we will ever have been given is freedom of choice. You have the opportunity to make one today that will change your life forever. Nowhere to run. Where darkness prevails, there can be no light. Outside, as bright as sun. Inside, dark as night. Windows to the soul, obscuring all inside. A masquerade ball, energy spent to hide. A heart so black, inside skin so white. Hidden like a coal away from sight. Whether the highest peak or the depths of the sea, there is no hiding place, nowhere to flee. So why toil? Why slave away to sin? There is no escape from destiny, and in the end, love will win. Let him take the darkness, shine in his perfect light. No longer a candle under a bushel, now out in plain sight. It matters not where you've been, only what lies ahead. He walks beside you now, showing the path to tread. So surrender and find true victory. The chains are broken so that you can be set free. On the edge, locked up tight, She's been here before, shutting the world out on the other side of the door. Now finally safe, the drops begin to fall down. If she let all the tears inside out, she would surely drown. Memories of her childhood force their way into her head. The anguish of her suffering makes her wish that she was dead. Slowly, with hesitation, she reaches for the drawer, knowing what she needs. She's been here before. Now she has it in her hand, this small but sharp blade. If she could cut the memories out, surely she could make them fade. Now that it's close to her arm, she begins to battle with her nerve. She can see headlights coming and she is tempted to swerve. There is no escape from this pain. Her mind is filled with doubt. She begins to wonder about true love and wishes she knew what it was about. One choice, never-ending suffering. The other brings an uncertain death. Maybe she could find some peace before she breathes her last breath. Then a new voice in her head saying, "Fear not, I am here." She's heard this voice before, but it's been so many years. She had tried this Jesus guy before, but he didn't seem to protect her then. How could she possibly find the faith to put her trust in him again? "Oh Lord, please help me. I'm so very afraid. I can't take the hurting anymore, but I don't want to end it with this blade. If I trusted you now, would you restore my heart? Could you make me whole again? Could you give me a fresh start?" Then a response, almost audible, as if he were standing right there. "I have never been far from you, and yes, I do still care." The blade falls to the floor, as does she. Real hope fills her heart as she prays on bended knee. "Oh Jesus, can you still love me? Can you take me just as I am?" The tears begin pouring again, like water breaking through a dam. A new sense begins to overcome her. It's the sense of peace. She cast her sorrows freely on Jesus and was finally released. Have you ever felt trapped with no way out? Maybe you are there today. The pain of the past can strangle out all hope of real, lasting peace. You find yourself with shame holding you fast like an anchor holds a boat. Waves come in this life, but when you are at anchor, it's difficult to roll with them. There is no freedom. Oh, what it would be like to release that weight and sail far, far away from it. Have you heard his voice? He's calling out your name. He took all of your shame so you wouldn't have to. He stands by, ready to cut away the anchor. It takes a leap of faith to believe the voice of truth, but it's well worth taking. You cared enough. When I was in dark and desperate places, you cared enough to show me your face. When I was drowning in my sin, you cared enough to show me grace. When I was running as hard as I could, you cared enough to chase me. When I was wrapped and bound in chains, you cared enough to set me free. When I was lost and blinded in my wicked desires, you cared enough to open the eyes of my heart. When I was enveloped by gloom and darkness, you cared enough to give me a fresh start. When I was so full of holes and I was sinking, you cared enough to make me whole. When I was lost and emptied of all purpose, you cared enough to make me full. When I was crying inside and hidden in shadow, you cared enough to pull me out into the light. When I was too weak to carry on this journey, you cared enough to teach me how to fight. When I was a broken vessel holding nothing, You cared enough to pick up all the shards. When I was hard and calloused on the inside, you cared enough to soften a heart so hard. When I was too weak to continue on this road, you cared enough to wrap me in your arms. When I was self-destructive and dangerous, you cared enough to save me from harm. When I was too ashamed to hold my head up, you cared enough to heal my deepest sorrow. When I was weeping bitter tears of hopelessness, you cared enough to show me hope for tomorrow. Much of my life was spent running. I ran from hopelessness inside of me. I ran from the thoughts of what tomorrow would bring. I ran from a purposeless existence. I ran from the hurt of days past. Yet with all the running I did, I couldn't escape reality. None of the tools I had at my disposal could help me evade the truth. Rather than healing me, my self-help techniques brought me to deeper pits of despair. I needed a savior. I was never going to be good enough. I was never going to be strong enough. I was never going to have enough willpower. I cursed God for my weaknesses. I determined that there was something fundamentally wrong with me, yet I continued to strive under my own power. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." I knew this, and yet I saw it more as an expression than a reality. What words could I use to convey my gratitude to Him for not giving up on me? Where is your heart? Do you still have hope and self-help? How is it working for you? Outside the gate, I could not loose the chains that kept me bound. Many times I tried in futility, but no freedom could be found. I propped my weakened soul up against the wall of my prison. So many solutions I had attempted. Now I was filled with indecision. Clearly I was unable to break through chains made of steel. Chafing wounds left their mark, and they would not heal. Guards stand outside my cell. They taunt me with their lies. One thing they said I believed. Surely here is where I would die. I secretly wished for the end, hoped it would come quickly. The years of captivity took their toll as I became more sickly. Another lonely night approached. The sheer blackness crept in. Again there were dreams of freedom. Again hopes of escape from this sin. I pushed the thoughts from my mind, as it seemed best not to hope. So often accepting my imprisonment seemed the best way to cope. In the pure blackness of midnight came suddenly a marvelous light. I had to shield my eyes from it. It was literally piercing the night. I cowered in my corner, uncertain as what to expect. Never before had my eyes beheld a light that was so perfect. The light source stood now before me, as I mustered my nerve to look upon his face. His smile was unmistakable, and his eyes spoke of true grace. As he reached out his hand, my eyes began to fill with tears. I reached out only as a response, able to finally overcome my fears. My chains gave way and fell immediately to the ground. No longer did they bind me, as my freedom had been found. Now I held his hand tightly as the prison gate opened wide. After only a few short steps, we were on the outside. I peered back into my cell. I knew this look would be my last. Hope and joy now filled my heart. My captivity was in the past. There is something about the imagery of imprisonment and darkness that continues to draw me back in. When I search for metaphors of what my life was like before Christ Jesus interceded on my behalf, there is no better image to describe it than this. I was born into captivity. Even the supposed innocence of childhood was overshadowed with these issues that were innate in me. I put on my first masks when I was quite young. They became the first signs of my imprisonment. Once I put on my first mask and began the world of make-believe, it seemed impossible to take it off. To take off the mask meant ending the facade. It meant confessing my true identity. Not only was I afraid of being subject to that scrutiny, I was afraid of being proven a liar by projecting such a false front. Still, my greatest fear was that the real me was not worthy to receive real, unconditional love. When compared with the utter rejection I anticipated if I were to let my true self show through, the mask felt like protection. Still, I was a prisoner. I constructed the walls, then placed the bars myself. At first I believed the prison was a refuge. It wasn't until years later that its true nature was revealed. My refuge had become isolation, and my prison had become inescapable. Many know this prison. Maybe you never quite thought of it in these terms, but when we choose to place these masks on our faces, we begin to deny the brokenness that resides within us and replace it with a false front. Yet there is one who can remove the masks and fix the broken places beneath them. His name is Christ Jesus. For me, this is not a theory or a belief. It is a reality. I speak from my own personal experience. So if your mask has morphed from the costume you wear to the masquerade ball into something more like an iron mask which is secured by lock and key, you have a choice. Hold on to pretend and hope you can endure, or give yourself over to the one who can set you free. Like with me, the choice is yours. Prayer for deliverance. From my feet I fall to my knees. I cry your name out now. I pray you hear my pleas. Oh Lord, my world is falling apart. If this is not my end, I pray for a fresh start. This heart you have created is slowly becoming a tomb. Water is coming in the cracks of my little room. Oh Lord, in my sorrow I may drown. My castle is made of sand, the walls are crashing down. Free my heart from these thorns, free my mind from these chains. Take all this pain away from me until only you remain. Transform my desires and model them after yours. Teach me your ways until only love endures. Take this broken vessel, put it in its perfect place, until the day I leave this earth to meet you face to face. Be my perfect master, be the king on my throne. Turn skepticism to trust, don't ever leave me alone. Oh Lord, be the God of this nation, be the lover of my heart. I am in need of transformation. Take my hand today, Lord, put me to your use. Embrace me in your loving arms and never turn me loose. I pray this in the name of my Savior, in the name of Jesus, the very one who gave his life, the one who holds the key to free us. I recently posed a question on my Facebook account. It read, Mitch Salmon is wondering if you will answer this question. The doctor tells you that you have one day to live. Tomorrow, when the sun comes up, you will die. What will you do with your last day on earth? I received an abundance of answers to this question. Apparently this is a hot topic. One answer in particular struck me. The young lady said, it doesn't really matter, because you can't change in one day. I engaged her in private dialogue, and in my last message I said, I believe that everyone has an opportunity for one day to be a turning point. After all, a whole life can come down to one decision. It doesn't have to be the last day of your life. It can be on any day, but usually it's the one where you have sunk to your lowest depths. I know this to be true because I experienced that one day myself and have never been the same since. Have you experienced that day? Have you hit bottom? Who will you cry out to? Maybe today is that day for you. He knows your pain. He longs to free you. Will you trust him or continue to try to endure? Prayer for rain. I look at the earth below, just rock and soil, yet it produces life through man's toil. I look at the sky above, laden clouds of blue, yet when the rain falls, it produces every color and hue. I sense your spirit inside of me. It makes me who I am. It bursts out uncontained like water from a broken dam. I see your gifts around me, also the broken and ashamed. I pray for your healing in them, that they will never be the same. For when the thirsty crave, there is living water for their need. For what the starved desire, there is food for those who take heed. We need you to fall on us, like the ground needs the rain. Only your cleansing power can wash away the pain. I implore you, do not leave us dusty, do not leave us dry. Shadow your clouds above us, and bring your rain from the sky. We are your wildflowers, we are your lilies of white. Yet we need your food from heaven to burst through the earth and into sight. Much of my life I spent as a dead man walking. I trudged through one day and into the next. It hurt to even consider meaning and purpose. There simply was none that I could find. It was at the point of greatest anguish that God brought down his rain into my life. Wind no longer blew the dust of my dry soul. Where there had been only rocks and soil, there were now flowers in bloom. Does your life feel dry and dusty? Do you lack life and purpose? Maybe it's time to pray for rain. Savior of mankind, why do we shy away? Why do we deny? How can we question all the stars in the sky? We were created for a purpose. We were created to be with you. Yet among the many, you have chosen only a few. Who are we to be called by your name? Are we the reason that you came? You died for us all. You hung on that tree. You sacrificed yourself so that men could be free. You could have turned your back. You could have denied us on that day. You could have called the angels to simply whisk you away. But you stood your ground. You made a stand for love. You stayed true in your mission. You were sanctified from above. The Son of God became the Savior of man. No one truly understood that it was his master plan. The God who became human, the sacrifice for us all. It was you, my sweet Jesus, who took the ultimate fall. I should have died on that day. I should have hung on that cross. I should have been the one to have experienced this loss. So I bow before you now, and I honor your name, for I know that without you, life could never be the same. We are free. How can those of us who are Christians walk around with an air about us? Who are we anyway? We are redeemed sinners, nothing more, nothing less. We were bought with a price, and that price was Christ's blood on that day that will live in history, but creates a future for us all. If you have accepted this gift, who have you told about it? If you haven't, why would you reject something that is so freely given? Forget the church that judges. Forget the people who hide behind self-righteousness. Focus on the price that was paid for you. Focus on the perfect love given to a fallen people. This is the gospel. This is the good news. Do you have a hole inside of you? Do you long to be whole instead? This is more than a matter of eternity. It's a matter of right here, right now. This is a call for all those who are slaves to sin to drop their chains. This is a call for the broken to become restored. Sensing the creation. When I look upon the stars in the sky, I can't help but call out your name, a million points of light shining before me, each evidence of your glorious fame. When I smell the fragrance of a flower, the sweet aroma permeating the air, I am drawn to you like a bee to honey, laying down my heavy burdens in your care. When I look at the waves of green grass as they wave before me in the breeze, I am amazed at the majestic brilliance that was endowed upon us with such ease. When I see the sun ablaze at noon, a magnificent ball of shining light, I ponder the delicate nature of our existence, understanding every day comes with a night. When I feel the freshness of a gentle breeze as it lightly brushes my face, I am reminded of how you surround me, wrapping me in your warm embrace. When I touch the ruddy, damp soil, feeling the moist, greeny texture in my hand, I see new life springing up from it, renewing the resources of our land. When I hear the roar of the ocean, it's almost as if your voice is in the den. Each wave crashes on the shore before me, returning to the sea, your love pulls me in. Everything I taste, touch, smell, hear, and see is a reminder of the undeserved grace I receive. All of these wonderful creations of your hand remind me of the abundance of reasons to believe. When I truly open my eyes to view the world around me, I am amazed by God's creativity. Think about it. The creation that surrounds us is so vast and diverse. We experience colors and hues that stretch beyond our wildest imagination. We see, feel, touch, taste, and smell so many different things that we take for granted. When was the last time you gave pause to give thanks to our Creator for the abundance of marvels in your life? Standing before giants. I stand on the field of battle with only a sling and 5 small stones, yet I know my God is with me, and because of faith I am not alone. Fear demands that I run, but courage calls me to stand. For this single battle of warriors will decide the ownership of this land. The mightiest warrior faces me and laughs when he sees my size. But he knows not my God, knows not how soon his demise. He howls with laughter and lowers his guard. With a single well-placed stone, he hits the ground hard. As with the bear and the lion, I have defended my flock. Now it is the warriors of Israel who stand their ground and mock. The fallen Philistine giant lies helpless before my feet. I draw a sword I can barely manage. Steel and flesh finally meet. Now at the end of the day, the Lord's shepherd boy sees victory. The mighty warrior has fallen and lies dead for all to see. Faith defeats might. His word pierces the shield. The proud are humbled. With bended knee all will yield. Most know the story of David and Goliath. We know that a very average-sized boy, David was still in his teens, faced off against a 9-foot giant. I have a tendency to take for granted the amount of faith and courage that this took. Yet as I read the story found in 1 Samuel 17, 1 through 51, I can see David expressed no fear. He stood before the giant in a fight that he was sure to lose, if evaluated by this world's standards. The odds in Las Vegas would have been 1,000 to 1, yet David knew something that no one else understood. He knew who was on his side. We may not face physical giants in our lives, but we certainly face emotional and spiritual giants. As we stand before them, we know that they could conquer us with one crushing blow. Addictions tear at us. Relationships that are on the rocks drive us down. Selfishness isolates us. Tragedies cause us to question our faith. These are just a few of the things we face. Fill in the blank with your own. Now ask yourself, who is in my corner? Do you know the one who conquers giants? Don't be conquered. Don't be destroyed. Call out his name now, and he will join you in the fight. Surrendering all of me. A surrender of self to one who is much greater than me. I may be peering through a dense fog, but he can always see. He beckons me forward with a strong yet gentle outstretched hand. He places my home upon the rock, far removed from the shifting sand. He calls me by name. He describes me in ways before unheard. He opened the door of my cage and set me free like a bird. He provides my soul with the necessities, then keeps filling until I overflow. He protects my heart from danger and remains with me wherever I go. Master, Redeemer, and Friend, all of these things he has become to me. Never does he ignore my cries. He always answers my most urgent pleas. On bended knee, I seek with urgency the will of the King. He remains constantly on his throne. He welcomes the needs that I bring. Surrender? What have I surrendered? A selfish and dead existence, never knowing more? He called me to know new adventures as he prepares me for what's still in store. Do you have a fear of losing control? Believe me, I can relate. Most of my life was spent with me at the driver's wheel. The signs were telling me that I wasn't a competent driver, but I ignored them all. I was so afraid of losing control of my life and missing out on something. I chased every promise that I could dream of in this world. Many of them I obtained, yet I still felt empty and lost. To find my true self, I had to know my identity in God. I was created by Him, for Him, to love Him. Only when I acknowledged and accepted this did I find the peace and joy that would fill the huge hole within me. So what did I give up? I gave up a life of chasing shadows. I gave up a life of spitting into the wind. To these things I say, good riddance. So what are you holding on to? What dreams do you continue to chase? Are you starting to get the idea that there is no true fulfillment in them? Listen to me. Until you let go, you will never understand the fullness of God's love and the peace that only He provides. The Crossroads. When facing the crossroads, we have a choice on the path to take. Our very destiny depends on the decisions we make. One road is narrow, and yet the path is barely worn. When we face the crossroads of intention, we are often torn. The other road is wide and seems easy to travel. It is graded smooth and covered with gravel. Crossing from one to the other is not easy, but it can be done. It seems perilous, but it leads to the sun. So each must choose, each must answer for their choice. Cry out now so that he will hear your voice. So stay on course, and he will guide your way. He will walk beside you each and every day. If you stumble, he will catch you in his arms. He will protect you from any real harm. Enter the narrow gate into the promised home. The path is not easy, but you are not alone. The dance. Even when I was young, the sickness was there. Since that time, it has followed me everywhere. The chains that bind reside inside of me. I could never break them, yet I longed to be free. I fell and shattered until I was truly broken. I betrayed my nature with every word that was spoken. I ran and hid where there was nowhere to hide. No matter how far I traveled, I couldn't escape what was inside. So I cried out your name in the most pitiful of ways. I waited for you while running through all of my days. I am an enigma, a walking contradiction, seeking who I truly am through all of this affliction. Running and yet standing, hiding in plain sight, out in the light of the sun and yet longing for the night. Oh, that darkness could cover all of my guilt and shame. Oh, that someone would come and call my true name. I hear the word righteous and know it could not be me. Some say that I am loved, and yet I wish that I could see. So I continue to run in my place. I continue to make my desperate stand. I continue to step forward in this dry and desolate land. I decide to trust in you. Despite all that I am feeling, I rely on your miracles to bring about my healing. Will you be the cord in my life which is not easily broken? If I pray to you now, will you hear the words that are spoken? I believe you are here, and yet at times you seem so far away. I believe I am rooted in you, and yet I panic when I sway. So hold me now and never let me go. I need you more each day, even more than you know. When I wrote this, I could feel every word. The reality of my feelings boxed me in, and I put on the blinders. The funny thing about feelings is that they are so hard to see beyond. Our feelings become our realities, yet they shift and sway. They betray us in lies. These realities are untrue, and yet they feel like the kind of wall that we cannot scale, dig under, or travel around. Yet these walls exist only in our minds. I'm not here to tell you how you can overcome these things. I struggle with them myself. I'm here to point out the things that I have learned. The truth can sometimes feel like a lie, and a lie can sometimes feel like the truth. If that's the case, our feelings cannot be trusted. They will ultimately betray us if our decision-making is based on them. How are you feeling? Are you feeling downtrodden? Do you feel like your life will never change? Do you feel unlovable? Maybe you feel like God is far away from you and that He doesn't care. Maybe you feel like you have it all together. That's just as dangerous as any of the other feelings. So what will you trust? The shifting sands of the latest feeling, or the truth that remains constant regardless of how you feel about it? The darkest night, out in the wide open spaces, as the first signs of dusk set in, red hues fill the lingering sunset. Day is ending. Soon night begins. I make a fire for the night. It will prove my closest companion. As light and warmth permeate, there is still loneliness in this canyon. Huddling in close to the fire now, flickering shadows fill the light's end. Beyond the glow of this small blaze, a darkness against which I cannot defend. These shadows dance just out of reach, like ancient savages preparing for war. Bloodlust fills their hearts as they seek to settle the score. The perceived safety of this light slowly begins to fade away. The mystery and terror of darkness will not be held at bay. With longing, I look to the night sky, but alas, there is no moon. Without adequate fuel for this fire, darkness will overcome me soon. My preparation for this night was poor. I had not gathered adequate wood. The insidious darkness grows ever closer, threatening to destroy all that is good. Now the fire grows increasingly dim. The panic setting in quickens my heart. I hear snickering and howls in the darkness as the unknown threatens to tear me apart. Instincts of fight or flight course through my terrified mind, yet there is nowhere to run, no way to fight. These forces are hidden, and I am blind. Evil cackles fill the night. Accusations form a formidable attack. I have no excuses for my sinful ways and no way to take them back. The accusers know my weaknesses. They use them to demand my surrender. There is no grace according to them. I stand guilty with no defender. The tears well up from deep within. My end seems to be drawing near. They attack with truth that knows no love, and I cower before them in fear. Suddenly, the powerful force of angelic wings, a loud voice says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness." Joy fills me, for I know that this is true. The shrieks now emanate from my tormentors. They cannot stand the presence of perfect love. Their lies are drowned out by His mercy and grace, which pours down freely from above. The dwindling fire was my safeguard, and now suddenly springs to life like a fiery furnace. Now its brightness pierces right through the night, and the demons flee in earnest. I am still there, but no longer alone, as I bask in the warmth of His true grace. I avert my eyes from the brilliant glow, but find myself overjoyed as I see His face. Shame has to be one of the most painful emotions we can experience. Coupled with its close cousin guilt, they hobbled me for years. Each time I began to believe in and apply grace in my life, shame crept up to remind me of my past actions and my undeniable guilt. The enemy loves to point out to me all of my shortcomings, and there are many. The truth is, I may not be worthy to talk about the good news. Perhaps that's more suited for someone who has always made the right choices. But then I have to wonder, who knows more about grace, the saint or the sinner? Jesus said plainly that He came for the sin-sick, not the spiritually fit. I certainly know what it means to be sick with sin. Paul says in Romans 5, "But sin didn't and doesn't have a chance in competition with the aggressive forgiveness we call grace. When it's sin versus grace, grace wins hands down." Wow, now that is good news. Are you living in shame? Does the enemy point his finger at you, saying, "Guilty"? I'm here to tell you the good news of grace. Sin doesn't stand a chance against it. So with this abounding grace available to all who call Christ their Master, maybe it's time to stop focusing on our shortcomings. Maybe it's time to begin focusing on His face. He doesn't seek to condemn. He seeks to redeem us with His perfect love. Whether you know Him right now or not, you can call on His name. Maybe it's time that you got to know one another. The darkness, the thief of souls, comes to steal in the night. So build a fire in my heart and make it bright. He stays among the shadows seeking to devour. Without your light, I'm weak and cower. I must keep constant vigil to keep the shadows at bay, staying strong as I await the light of a new day. Search my heart, O Lord, reveal the weakness inside, so that I might stand strong with nothing to hide. Guard my heart closely with your eternal word. May it run deeply now that I have heard. Do not forsake me now in this my darkest hour. Do not give the accuser power. I will face the east and seek the first light of day. With eyes towards the sky I continue to pray. I cry out, O Father, the lover of my soul, go to work in me now and make me whole. O Lord, the night is dark as just before the dawn. Add the wood of your word, so my fire will remain strong. Then my eyes behold the first of the sun's rays, and I am finally assured that all will be okay. The darkness fades as the light overpowers. Now it is the enemy who hides and cowers. I stand tall, with hands raised high, praising you now as the sun fills the sky. 1 Peter 5:8. Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion seeking for someone to devour. Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave or forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Darkness will come into our lives. We are assured that in this world we will have trouble. Still, the darkness can only prevail for so long. We know that the light will return. Which way do you face? Are you looking to the east? Do you seek the light of a new day? The fine line. All of my life hidden in shame, pain piercing me like knives with no one else to blame. A heart that beats, but a soul that is dead, fighting for freedom from the demons in my head. I hide away from you. I fear being found, but I fear being lost. I hit the ground. I cry out your name. I pray for grace. You bless my heart and enter this place. Now the fine line I walk, with the message of love. No answers of my own, I point above. For all who call you can find you where they are. Although you may seem distant, you are never far. Even in the depths of the sea or in the skies above, there is nowhere to hide from this message of love. He calls your name. What will your answer be? Are you content stumbling in the dark, or do you long to see? The hearts of man. Pen is mightier than the sword I carry, so write these words, I will not tarry. Men's hearts are hard, they have become frigid. Their wills cannot be bent, their souls are rigid. Seeking earthly treasures can take its toll. What do they matter when you will lose your soul? O Lord, hear my cries. It matters not what we possess when the spirit dies. I plead with you now. Bring your will to this land. Make yourself known to us. Show the works of your hand. Your word is alive today, just as it was in days past. In the end, your love will be the only thing that lasts. Do not leave us. Do not forsake us in this time of need. May the men who read these words listen closely and take heed. Do not store up your treasures where the thief can steal. Do not trade the Spirit's longing for what you can immediately feel. Gratification is available immediately, but in the end it will not last. Just like quicksand, it sucks you in, and you are sinking fast. What man would trade freedom for the weight of chains? Trade healing and wholeness for hurt and pain? Oh Lord, come into the hearts of men. Show them the price you paid to release them from their sin. In the American culture, life is difficult. We may not face the same immediate shortages of food and water that many other countries face, but we do face corrupt morals. We are a materialistic culture who tends to believe that by buying something, we can make our lives better. What fills the holes in your life? Are you looking for something you can acquire? More importantly, where are your greatest efforts spent? Do you invest your time and energy into providing stuff or in giving of yourself? Our time is precious because it's limited. All the money in the world cannot buy us a single breath. There is no guarantee of tomorrow. So if it all ends for you today, what will be your legacy? I say these things because I have fallen into this trap in the past. I let ambition have precedence over the matters of my soul. Don't follow in my footsteps through that land. The Lord can show you a much better path. If today seems empty, even as you are surrounded by your treasures, fill tomorrow with something new. Fill it with the grace and love that our King provides. The Lepers Story. I am the leper. I sit outside the city gate. Passers sometimes take pity, but mostly they hate. I hear them talk. I deserve this because of sin. All doors are closed. None will ever open. I know not love, only pain of separation. I am alone, surrounded by an entire nation. I felt no touch for as long as I can recollect. I must maintain distance from all because of this defect. I once heard of this man. They say his name is Jesus. Many speak of him. They say he will free us. They say he makes the lame walk. He causes the blind to see. If only I could find him, maybe he would take mercy on me. If only he came near, I believe he could make me whole. I could be free to touch. My life again would be full. Today I heard the Master draws near. My heart skips a beat, but I am overwhelmed with fear. What if he were like the others? What if he ordered me away? I would be left to suffer in this progressive decay. I set my fear aside to approach the King. When the others notice me, they back away and scream. But he looks into my eyes and beckons me to draw near. As I limp towards him, his eyes fill with tears. I cry out, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." He laid his hands upon me, where all could be seen. Many gasped and recoiled, but my Master remained. I could feel his healing touch, no longer viewed with disdain. Oh, I am whole for the first time in years. Freedom has replaced all of these crippling fears. I sing and dance. I tell all who I see, go to my Master Jesus, so that you too will be set free. Mark 1:40-45. A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Filled with compassion, Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was cured. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but Go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. Do you desire to be whole and free? When others turn their backs on you and keep you at arm's length, there is one who won't. It is my Master, Jesus. Do you know him? Have you felt his healing touch in your life? If you have not experienced healing, you can today. Fall on your knees and ask. He is willing. He will not ignore your cries.